Next up, chapter 10.7, we're going to talk about this thing called the discriminant. Now, the discriminant is part of the quadratic equation, and it helps us solve these. So let's go ahead and take a look at some examples, and let's actually figure out what this thing, the discriminant, actually is. So if you have a quadratic equation, right, a quadratic function here, so ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Remember, you need to set it equal to 0 here. We can find the solutions, right, where this thing crosses the x-axis. At x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all of that over 2a. Okay. Well, this part underneath the radical is going to be the discriminant. It's known as the b squared minus 4ac. That part is called the discriminant. Okay. And I'm hoping that as we go through this, you're going to kind of discover what this thing is going to help us with. So first, let's go ahead and let's take a look. All right. We've got one here that is... we've got a quadratic here, and we're going to go ahead and let's go ahead and solve it. Let's plug it into the quadratic equation and work our way through this. Okay, so I've got the quadratic equation here. Okay, and it's not exactly what I was hoping to happen, but okay, well, we're going to work with this, and let's go ahead, and what we're going to do is we're going to solve. So we'll say, okay, x is equal to, and let's see, b is going to be negative 2, so we have negative 2 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so that's going to be 4 minus 4 times 1 times negative 3, right? So 4 times, I don't need to write the 1, but I do need to write negative 3. Okay, and all of this is going to be over 2 times 1, so 2. All right, so x is equal to 2 plus or minus the square root of, okay, we've got 4 minus negative, so this is 4 plus 12, which is going to be, what, 4 plus 12 is 16, all over 2, okay? So we have x is equal to 2 plus the square root of 16 is 4, right? Over 2, all right? So we can do x is equal to, well, 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3, or 2 minus 4 is negative 2, divided by 2 is negative 1. And then you'll notice I actually have these already written out here for us. These are already ready to go. So right here, this is actually what this would look like. Okay, so if I have this is just your parabola as it goes up. Okay. So as we notice, what we did here is we found the discriminant in this case was a positive 16, right? This was the discriminant. Discriminant. Okay, so this is the discriminant, 16, right? And this one was relatively easy because it was a perfect square and we were able to graph it, okay? And you can see, right, my vertex lies on this line here. It would lie on halfway between 3 and negative 1, right? Halfway between these. At negative b over 2a. Okay, so halfway between 3 and negative 1 is 1. Okay, and let's put the grid in here, make it look a little bit easier to see. So we'd see 1 coming through here. Okay, it comes through 1. And if you plug in 1, you'll see you get negative 4 is the vertex. And as we go, okay, it crosses the x-axis at negative 1 and 3. And then it keeps going. So we can tell on this one that our vertex is below the x-axis and that it goes up and it crosses the x-axis. Okay, so that's one way of looking at it. So the discriminant in this case is 16. Well, let's go ahead and let's look at another one here. Okay, so we've got y equals x squared minus 2x plus 1, and let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and work the quadratic equation again. So we know that x is equal to negative 2 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so 2 squared, which is 4, minus 4 times 1 times 1, so 4 times 4, right? All over 2 times 1, so 2. So x is going to be equal to 2 plus or minus, well, 4 minus 4. 4 minus 4 is 0, so plus or minus the square root of 0 over 2. Well, the square root of 0 is 0, so let's see. We're going to have 2 divided by 2, so x is 1. So let's see. How does that going to work? If x is equal to 1, and that's the only solution, what do we know? Well, let's see. It means it crosses the x-axis. Let's see. If we graph this, right? If we were to graph this, Okay. It might look something like this. Okay. I'd put x is 1, and then I would know that this is actually at the vertex. Okay. I mean, this is the vertex. It's on the axis of symmetry. So from here I could go, well, I know my y-intercept is 1, so I plug in 1 here, and then I move over 1, up 1, and then over 2 and up 2, and from here I'm going to get my parabola, okay, pointing up this way. And so in this case, the discriminant was 0, okay? When it was 0, all right, when it was 0, the discriminant was 0, I only ended up with x equaling 1, right? I only had one solution here. So let's keep that in mind. Let's take a look at another one here. Okay, so let's see. Let's try this one. Let's see if we're going to do. So we'll do x is equal to, right, negative b. So negative times negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 4 squared, so 16, minus 4 times 1 times 7, right? 4 times 1 times 7. All over 2 times 1, so 2. So let's see, we got x is equal to negative 4, and negative 4 is positive 4. So 4 plus or minus, and let's see, we got 16 minus 28. So that's going to be negative 12. So the square root of negative 12, and that whole thing over 2. So let's see, x is going to be equal to, well, the square root of negative 12 is, wait a second, negative 12. I can't take the square root of negative 12. So if I can't take the square root of negative 12, that means that this is no solution. That has no solution. Well, that's weird. Well, let's see. If that has no solution, let's see what that actually means, okay? So let's see. No solution. Let's graph this. Let's say, okay, you know what? Let's figure out where this vertex is. So the vertex is going to be at negative b over 2a, which is going to be negative 4 over 2, right? So x is going to be equal to 4 divided by 2 is 2. So that would be my axis of symmetry. So then let's plug in 2. So 2 squared is 4. 4 minus, let's see, it's going to be, so y will be equal to 4 minus 8 plus 7. Well, that's going to equal 4 plus 7 is 11. And 11 minus 8 is negative 3. No, let's see. 11 minus 8 is 3. Okay, so my vertex here is going to be 2, 3. All right, well, let's think about this. If the vertex is 2, 3, and this thing has a, right? A is positive 1, which means it points up. Then the graph is going to look little something like, oops, this. Okay. So it's going to look like that. And this should make sense because it doesn't cross the x-axis. The x-axis here, this parabola, never crosses it. Okay? Which is why there is no solution. All right? When you find those x's, right? When you find these, what you're doing is you're seeing where does it hit this line again. Okay, where does it hit the x-axis? And if you think about it, we talked about with when we did the shot put problem, right? That's how we solved when Teddy threw the shot put when it hit the ground again. We looked to see, right? We graphed this parabola, it went up, and then it came back down, and we looked to see where did it cross the x-axis again. And that's how we determined how long it took to get to the ground. Okay. Well, in this problem, what's going to happen is it's just not possible. If you were looking to see when it was going to go low enough, there is no solution. It's just not going to work. So let's kind of review here, and no, let's do this. Why don't you guys go ahead and let's see what you think you can determine from the discriminant. Okay, just using the discriminant, the b squared minus 4ac. Okay, pause this one, and what I want you to do is you tell me what is the discriminant for 2x squared plus 6x plus 5? And then what I want you to think, what does that tell us? What did we learn from that? So go ahead, pause the video, and figure out the discriminant. All right, so let's figure it out. Let's see if you got it right. It's b squared minus 4ac. So b squared in this case is going to be 36 minus 4 times 2 times c, which is 5. Okay, so this is going to be 36 minus 4 times 5 is 20. 20 times 2 is 40. So I'm going to get negative 4. Okay, so my discriminant is negative 4. This is the number that goes underneath the radical. Well, what can you tell me about the square root of negative 4? Well, I'm hoping you look at that and you say, well, you can't do that. You can't take the square root of a negative number. You won't get a real solution. So really what that means is there is no solution. X has no solution, okay? It doesn't ever hit the x-axis. All right, and so we can use this as sort of a test to see if something is going to happen without having to do this whole crazy thing, right? We determine the discriminant first, okay? So let's go back and let's move on. Let's take a look at another one here. And so what I want you to look at is go ahead and try solving this one. Figure out what the discriminant is, and then see if you can determine. You can pull some information from that. So go ahead and pause the video now. All right, well, hopefully, let's see. You said b squared minus 4ac. And we'll say that's equal to 36, right? Because it's negative 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 9. So that's 36 minus 36, which is equal to 0. Okay, so if this is my discriminant and this goes in here, whoops, and this goes in here, okay, I get 0. That basically cancels this out, and I'm left with only one solution for x. If x only has one solution, that means that that's the vertex, right? That is either the lowest point or highest point. In this case, since this is a positive 1, this thing is pointing up, it will be my lowest point, okay? So it's going to tell you the axis of symmetry. And if you think about it, look at this. If you look at x squared minus 6x plus 9, I'm hoping you might see that this is a perfect square. All right, so you can do x minus 3 is equal to 0, so x is going to be equal to 3. Okay? And it's only going to be one solution. All right, so realistically, when we're looking at this, okay. In fact, let's go back and let's just take a look at a couple of these. In this one, we determined that the discriminant was negative, so that there was no possible solution. All right. That was what happened here as well. Okay, we looked at this one and we said, okay, there's no possible solution to this one because the discriminant, right? This is the negative number. And this one, we determined that this is only 1, right? There was only one solution. And if we look back, if we say x squared minus 2x plus 1, you'll actually notice that that is x minus 1 squared is equal to 0. So x is equal to 1. All right? Which, there you go. There you have it. And then let's go ahead and take a look at this first one. And what we looked at here is we saw, okay, the discriminant was a positive number, which means there's going to be two different solutions. All right, and so we ended up with this, and that should make sense because that actually can be factored as x minus 3 and x plus 1, which will give you those solutions. Okay, so the discriminant is basically going to tell you how many solutions there are, okay, which I'm hoping you've figured out by now. And what I want you to do is you're going to go ahead and practice some of this. So go ahead and practice these. You can either choose to do the book work or the Khan Academy Solutions to Quadratic Equations. Now this one is going to challenge you a little bit more. There's a little bit more than what I've talked about here, but I think you'll get a pretty firm understanding of different types of sets of numbers, especially the idea of complex and imaginary numbers. So if you'd like to do if you want to do Khan Academy, okay, if you want to do Khan Academy, you don't have to do these, okay? I want everybody to do 35 through 37, 47, and 49. But if you don't, if you want to do the Khan Academy, you don't have to do the 3 through 15 odd or the 21 through 31 on. Okay, good luck.